I think we can start. And as you remember, last time we offered you the assignment with very challenging questions. So the questions asked you to go through the experiences, through surveying, interviewing teachers, students, maybe e-learning staff members at your institutions, to share with you in your national context how they feel about engaging in creating, using, reusing open educational resources, which tools they would use for these purposes, why, and also how emotionally they feel about involvement in OER development, how they could explain the emotional relationships between creator of OER and his or her collaborators in the artifacts. So we now would like you to report, to present to us about your findings. And we are really very interested in this. And of course, we will use these findings later on as open educational resources, because we already see that you use Creative Commons licenses. We will use your presentations for the outcomes of these virtual mobility sessions. So I see group 3 is ready to present. The floor is yours, and I would like to see all of you in video cameras as well in the window, or at least as many of you as you can. So I stop sharing my view, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Evina. I don't have a webcam, but only a microphone. I am Laura. We can start with our presentation. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. First of all, we have some brief preliminary consideration, because we had the choice between conducting interviews or organize a focus group, and we opted for the interviews because the focus group imply a high interactivity, and this is not suitable for us. For us as a group, because language, online connection, etc., nor with the interviewed people, because they are not available together. Secondly, pay attention to the ethical issues. Then, what are the collaborative tools that we used? We used mainly Google Drive to share our presentation, and emails. The point number 4 is the question: what is the main results that we attend from these interviews? We think the main contribution has been towards our reflection, because the sample is small, did not allow us to produce statistics or to conduct a strong qualitative or quantitative analysis, but this is useful to our reflection, and also, as we say last week, to engage our institution and to solicit some reflection also inside the institution. These are the people interviewed from Spain, Lithuania, Italy, and from none in Italy also. And they are professors, and they are students, and also members of technical staff. In Italy, we collaborate Silvia Micheletta, who is in the group number 4, and I to have a a global interview. From the Spain, sometimes we have to choose the questions. Danute and I, we choose to propose exactly the long questions viewed in this virtual class. In other case, the choice is a little different choice. This is the proposal of Cristina from Spain that tweet about use and develop of OER, collaboration, tools, OER philosophy, and OER for learning and teaching. She interviewed two people, and the person number one focused mainly the 2 points: quality and quality of resources, and incentives to use OER. Because the OER are reusable but mainly not modifiable, so it's difficult sometimes to use OER, and the incentives are very, very small. The collaboration is low because it isn't accredited by the institution. This is the opinion of this person. The second person say that there is a difference, a distance between the OER philosophy and the institutional philosophy, because the OER are suitable for lifelong learning, lifelong education, and the institution mainly focus the formal learning and the accreditation. Then Danute and I, we used the long questions proposed in this course. And the first question is how to create user engagement to increase the reuse and development of OER. The main topic, the main response are focused on sponsorship, because it's necessary to have the institution involvement. About the knowledge, because the people should be informed, so the institution have to propose courses and to focus about the quality with articles, with research, with scientific support. Then there are the topic of needs. Because an involvement could be achieved at the department level. Not, it's very difficult at university level or with the great institution. This is an opinion, because in the business case there are many intangible benefits. What are the needs for a university? It's more possible in at the department level, where there are a strong sharing of objectives. Another person stressed the concept of the best practice. To do together, if I don't have a teamwork skill, I can't collaborate. I can't develop an OER strategy. This is the second question. Why do you think people hesitate to create and share OER? Sometimes is the language the barrier, because for the non-Anglophone countries, it's more difficult to share and to use the OER. Also, the time, because the create OER is an investment. And on the other side, there are no rewards. Nobody pays for OER development, and at the same time, it's not a mandatory task to produce or to share OER. Finally, there is the fear of being copied, because the people fear to lose ownership of their work, and this is a problem that we can see later. The number three question is which tools allow or don't allow to reuse and modify OER. First of all, better search engine, specialized engine, search engine, can increase the use of OER. Because sometimes a lot of time is wasted in finding the appropriate resources. Secondly, is useful a place for knowledge exchange. A person think this place could be a wiki. Finally, there are a need for open source tools. But there are, in this case, there are different opinions. Maybe technical tools are not very important, but the key competence is the competence in modifying, in assembly the OER. And for one person, at the moment it's more flexible copyright than copyleft. This is the opinion, because with the copyright we have the chance to ask for the user, and with the copyleft, with there are some problems with editors, with non-commercial licenses, with the knowledge of the license in this moment. This is the actual situation of our university, our editors in this moment. The question number 4, what contest would help users to start collaborating on idea in early stage? In this case, someone focuses on the tools, wiki, social network, etc. In other case, the people focused on the sponsorship by institution. There is no convergence in these answers. Number 5 and 6 are the questions about the emotional relationship between the creators of OER and the artifacts. And there are two different answers. In some cases, there is a satisfaction to have created something for a community, and auto-motivation. In another case, one person says the relationship between the creator and the artifact is not an emotional relationship, but is an epistemological problem. I have to appropriate, I have to continuously renovate, search, extract my knowledge, so I never leave my OER, and this is the reason for this strong relationship. These are the answers from interviews for me and Danut. Last, this is a interview from Nan, and the Nan's perspective is mainly the student perspective. She has gathered the opinion of a PhD student with quite limited experience in using OER, but why? Why this limited experience? Because no needs, no interest in the OER. He is used formal education. He used also a tool like this OmniGraph to share, to discuss his ideas, but only with his supervisor, his colleagues, and here come back a topic we have already seen, especially because especially the people involved in research activities is afraid sometimes that his or her ideas are copied and don't share before publishing. These are the opinions we have collected. If our group have some comments from Nan, from Cristina, Danuta, please. Or this is all our presentation.
Okay, Laura, thank you very much. I would like to ask you to comment a little bit. Could you please go back one slide? You mentioned, no, one more, please, before yes, this one. You commented on emotional ownership. What was exactly the idea about emotional ownership? Could you elaborate a little bit?
As you can see, we have only some answers because this is a very difficult question. It's difficult to explain the emotional ownership, emotional relationship.
Yes.
And sometimes the sense of this question is only a negative sense. It's perceived as a negative sense. And the responses is, oh no, if you can see the person number 3, doing something for the benefit of a community, if I write, if I create, if I complete an OER for the benefit of a community, I doesn't have a strong relationship, but I develop for all. But this is maybe I think this is my opinion. This is an utopia. I think that the person have to change the institutions, and then the institutions have the possibility too too strong incentive the producer of OER. The auto motivation is not all. I think this is the first step. Then I think, but this is my opinion. I think a structured methods is more effective.
I understand. I understand. You mean like when we are having some collaboration in a project, we have certain management, we have deadlines, we have responsibilities. Do you agree this is the way when we establish a collaborative process, we could also follow some process guidelines?
Mm.
Okay.
For this course, for this
Yes.
event,
Yes.
I had a little knowledge of OER. In this course, mainly I presented, first of all, the consideration about the quality process, the quality validation of OER, that is new for me. Then the involvement, the engagement of our institution, because this last assignment, I think, is a bridge to our day-by-day activity. I don't know, maybe there are other topics that I will remember later, but we continue to receive some answers for these interviews because the time is not enough to receive all
Yes.
the answers. But this is an engagement of our institution that we appreciated.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a very interesting presentation. Yes, I think these issues are hitting quite deep, and yes, I agree with Elena who just posted that it's a great discussion already being on. Would anybody else from your group would like to add something? Maybe you can already share. You were producing, in fact, OER collaboratively, which is these slides. So maybe you can also add something from your perspective, or everything is in the slides?
Nana or Christina or Danuta, could you?
Could you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
I think maybe one question according to our collaboration is first, we didn't really have a selection of all the questions. So you can see from the slide that we don't really have common questions. So even we interview like more than 5 people, but you will find their answers are according to different questions. So it's a problem for our group presentation. The second thing is, I think when we try to make interview with other teachers or students, we need to recreate the questions because, for example, the reason for me, I didn't really choose complicated questions, which Laura and also the new Christina they selected because I think they are more like a research question rather than interview questions. So I choose very simple question to ask how they think, or maybe they don't know about OERs. So I think maybe it's better if we do further collaboration on this kind of interview. It's better we redefine which are the research questions we want to include in the study and which are the questions for the interviews.
Yes, Nan, I agree with you. Therefore, we suggested a lot of questions, maybe too many questions, some of them sophisticated, really addressing research. Of course, you did not have to tackle all of them. And then in the last slide or in the last portion of the assignment, very straightforward questions and very simple ones. So it's okay. In any case, you did great, and I think the solution is the one that you interviewed or you addressed people, and now you established thinking path within your cognitions about these ideas, and you are able to choose further on. Thank you very much for your group. It was fantastic. Now let's move to group number 2. So we have Alvaro, Donatas, Juliana, Hugo, and Ramon. Juliana, could you increase a little bit the volume? Increase the volume of the microphone. I can hear someone's desktop quite perfectly. I don't know whose it is with typing and Skype messages, but I can hardly hear you.
My microphone is high.
Now it's perfect. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. So we entitled our work to share or not to share with the rest of the world, paraphrasing in some way Shakespeare, because this is the question. And we decided to interview some teachers from our university, and we decided to involve one student too. So we have both point of view, the one of the teacher and the one of the student. And we thank all the people who answered, because not all the person we asked provided their answer. So we divided the work per country. We decided to ask 6 questions, chosen among them you suggested. And I personally, in Italy, tried to involve 12 teachers. Most of them, except one, are teaching subject linked to digital communication or media technology. But only 2 teachers, as you can see, gave their answer, and between them, the one who has little or none knowledge of OER. But I think that the fact that they didn't answer could be an answer too. Maybe I can think so. As a second step, I interviewed 2 teachers of another university, the University of Ferrara, because I recently studied in this university, and they both answered. And they both are specialists in the field of new technology and communication. This is the work of Ramon. I don't know if Ramon wants to speak.
Yes,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, my first step in Granada was to try to interview three teachers of the university, but only two of them answered to my question. And as the same as Juliana, only one of them uh, know knew about OER and this kind of practice because the other one didn't know very much about OER and this kind of open resources.
Okay. Alvaro interviewed a professor from Santiago de Compostela. He teaches at the Department of Didactics and Organization of the University of Santiago, and he is the director of an educational magazine. So we can say he is expert in the field. Donatas invited two teachers to answer the questions, but unfortunately one of them answered. So he interviewed a student so that we can have both point of view. Well, the first question we answered was, have you ever used or do you intend to use OER for teaching? I got four answers, and the first person said, I use OER and I personally create a site dedicated to humanistic management. I put the link, so if you in the future want to have a look, you can. The same teacher realized a project named Post-Modern Alice. I provided the link too. And they are both available in Italian and English. The second person answered that he read something about this argument, but he hasn't carefully evaluated the use of OER for teaching. The third person said he never used OER, but he could use without problem. And the fourth said that he shared educational material, but not using OER licenses. But he intended to adopt OER in the next future. That's these are the answers from Italy. While from Granada, Ramon, do you want to speak or?
Yes, sorry. Well, the first one told me that he has used OER, but not as well as he should. He has participated in Abierta UGR, and sometimes he looks for some information in other platforms like Digibook and other international open resources. The second one, the second person who don't really know about almost nothing about OER, told me that he knows very few things about OER and he doesn't use them for teaching.
Okay. Alvaro got this answer. This teacher uses OER in virtual classroom. He used learning object he find in a repository. He tries, this is important, he tries to make students aware of the intellectual honesty, insisting on the importance of citing the source of the object. Then the OER uses OER not only in teaching, but in investigation, in which he has intervened. For example, he worked in a group called Stelle that developed this project called Morea, and we provide the link. He is the director of the magazine he himself founded, and we put the link to this too. Regarding the student interviewed by Donata, the question is something different because you can't make the same question to a teacher and to a student, we think. So the question was, have you ever used OER for learning? And the student says that he never used OER. And the reason is that he studied biomedical science, and the teachers encourage to use different kind of resources. But he would be ready to use OER. Question number 2 was how to create user engagement to increase reuse and development of OER in collaborative settings. I got the following answers. The first teacher said that you can use engagement techniques typical of the net. So his project, a postmodernalist, is an example of how you can realize an open multi-channel and multimedia platform using blogs and social networks as a complement of the traditional frontal lecture. The second teacher, the less expert one, said that you could use effective example of good practices. For example, he could become really interested if some colleague show him clearly how to use OER, why they work well, why to use OER, and what are educational advantages, etc. The third teacher suggested to use a product he himself developed. I provide the link. That it is not an open resource, but could become. And this is a documentary model that combines the advantages coming from tutorials, blog, wikis, and forum. The first teacher answered that it is quite difficult to identify ways able to increase personal motivation. He thinks that it could be useful to implement some kinds of workshop and collaborative tasks, such those present in Moodle. And then he said that you can imagine to do collaborative online exercise, but he underlined that the main platform and PLE offers suitable tools at regard. Granada.
In Granada, the first professor thinks that it's very difficult to increase the use of these collaborative resources like OER and this kind. But in the last year, he was doing as much as he can for improve this situation. The OER should be the main source for teacher and student, he said. The second one, who was less interested in these resources, told me that he doesn't know. He didn't know because as a teacher, he has no knowledge about this kind of resources, but he would like to learn about it.
Okay. Alvaro got this answered that you can improve collaboration, making know their existence, teaching to use them, looking for resources, and same to give example using in a collaborative environment. That could be the best form to spread them. It is important for the users of the educational community to know in depth the possibilities and features of the open license. So the knowledge of the existence is important. Donatas from the student got Donata asked the following question: what does it take that you feel ownership for something? And the student answered that he wouldn't feel ownership for something as long as I'm using material for the right purposes. The third question is, why do you think people hesitate to create and share OER? I got these answers mainly because of the lack of knowledge about available techniques and tools. It's difficult because of high initial investment costs in terms of time. There is insufficient IT support if you are not skilled in informatics. And then these teachers underline that there are high costs coming from students' needs when you have to face all their possible problems. So you have to spend many time giving answers to students. The third teacher says that laziness, diffidence, and a form of jealousy towards your own work and the wish to gain from that is a sort of obstacle to share resources. The fourth teacher says that teachers feel their work something like an individual intellectual property. But on the other hand, both students and teachers are not so skilled in IT, and the advantages coming from the use of OER are neutralized by difficulty in using them. Granada. Ramon? You wanna speak?
I had my my microphone off. Sorry. Thanks, Juliana. For this question, the first interviewer um, told me a very interesting answer. He said, because we live in a culture of dependency and comfort, and it's easier to use other resources previously made than create new resources and sharing them. In this capitalist world, open and free sources don't move money, and this is important too. I think that this is a very interesting answer to that question because he was very critic about the context of this kind of resources. Whilst the second teacher told me that the teacher don't have sufficient training for working with these resources. Um, and he said too that he also said that they are from another less technological generation in comparison, for example, with my generation, because he's an older person. Thanks.
Okay, the teacher who answered the questions to Alvaro said that it is probably the ignorance of their existence and the type of legal uncertainties about its authorship. The student was asked if he would share his ideas and with and answered that I would share my ideas with students to show them what kind of learning material and what kind of assessments they would be provided and required from university during certain degree, and they could make right choices before filling their application form. The question number 4 is: do you think the reason why a sense of emotional ownership between the creators of OER and the artifacts that they create? So it's not the same you suggested, but we articulated it a little different. They answered that one person thinks that the relationship between the creator of OER and the created artifacts is the same of the one existing, for example, between an author and his or book, regardless of if it is free or not. Another teacher answered that he is not really able to answer, but in such a competitive world such as the academic one, he thinks that it's a right way to feel. And the third said that it's an avoidable way of feeling and that it is part of human nature. And the fourth one answer that the sense of emotional ownership surely exists, but he thinks it's caused by a misconception way of feeling the teaching. They generally think, the teachers generally think that the power of teaching is linked to the original ability to transmit content, while he thinks that this power lies in the ability to allow interoperability.
For this question, only one teacher answered to me it was the first one who said, I can know it because I haven't created any artifacts yet, but I suppose that when you create something, there is always a sense of ownership, even though it is an OER work. It doesn't depends on if it is free or a commercial work. The second respondent did not answer to this question.
Okay. No questions from Santiago. While the student was asked to answer this question, how to best express new ideas and innovation. And the student said, I would maybe make a video blogs telling all about my experience, new ideas and innovations. Question number 5. Would you be ready to share educational resources created by yourself? Well, one of my interviews said I already do it. Everybody can access the site that's available in English too. The second answer that he doesn't know enough about that surely I would like to have some recognition of my work. The third said maybe I would, but I think it's possible to have a minimum of copyright for the use of technology too. It depends on the context. You can think, for example, to give free access to the resource, but give a certification on payment in order to refund authors and technologies. The first teacher says, I'm surely ready to share materials if you are able to always recognize the sources and the authors, not for a sense of ownership, but to give reliability and access to the sources. Using open source software can give a standard to the format so that you can share the material. Share, save, and use documents on different devices. Granada?
From Granada, the first one said, yes, I could. I believe in shared and open learning, and nowadays it is impossible to deny this reality. I will share them without any problem. Whilst the second one said, I wouldn't probably, because we live in a competitive world and you don't advance in your academic career if you share what you create. There are two different answers to the same question and two different visions of this, the use of these resources.
Of course. And the teacher from Santiago said that undoubtedly he does it, especially in resources generated in his phase, like the investigator. The link was in the previous slide. And the reason is that the ethical commitment that believes that it has to have the teachers and researchers of public institutions for which the investment that society makes subsidizing their work reverse on the own society looking for the common good. While the student was asked where would you share? And he answered, I would create a YouTube channel since YouTube is very popular, easy access, and widely used. The last questions was which tools don't allow to reuse or modify OER. Well, the first teacher said that the more significant OER model is Wikipedia, because it is a tool of collaborative knowledge, always under development and reusable with no limits. The second one said that he has no idea. The third one suggests his product, tagged book, in which authors and users are clearly separated. Or he suggests the wiki if you don't want such a separation. The fourth teacher said there are many tools to disregard, but the main problem is the access to the source code. And they are good, all open source tools, while those that are not open can't be easily modified, of course. Granada.
The first professor said, I think that there are some platforms that allow more modifications than others, Wikipedia and these platforms. I am starting. He was starting with this tool right now. He considered that he is still a newbie in this kind of resources. The OERs that he used allow him to reuse the material, but he can't modify them. And well, the second one said another thing. He said that he doesn't use any tool in relation to this OER.
Okay. While there is no answer from Santiago, and the student was asked which tools would you use. I would look at people feedback, wouldn't be afraid to criticize myself and focus on improving my bad ideas more than perfecting my good ones. Well, I finally asked something about the way they are or think could be supported. And they all agree that support is essential. One of these teachers keep the site at his expense and work to it in his free time. They also highlight that the added value of OER lies on the competence, on the structural methodology, and access to information. So, thanks to these answers, we can say that searching, or there are some critical points, such as searching OER in the internet can be a hard task. In our European countries, only a few academic institutions offers OER, and in our academic institutions, only few people know what OER are. And the OER need to be better known and classified. And we write some recommendation too, in order to increase the use creation of OER. They have to be known to everybody, not only to experts, and they have to be supported, but this is really the way they are taking, we think. So we have finished the presentation, this long presentation.
Thank you, all of you. It was very difficult for you to service so many questions, but we appreciate a lot that you took your time and effort, and you really seem now to be sure, to be certain about the situation, I guess. At least this is the impression. It was fantastic, really, and I think it is worth some thesis, you know, with more survey participants, with more data on this, but at least now the structure is here. So this is my impression. Maybe somebody would like to say another word. I know Elena apologized and left. We have here other teachers and other participants. Feel free to comment because they did a huge job and it is an interesting result. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now let's move on. We already are past 1 hour time limit and we have still 2 groups and then your feedback. So maybe the feedback will be short in a round discussion, but it is nonetheless important for us. So let's move to group number 4 and fantastic 4. Let's see how fantastic you were in this challenging task. And I would like to ask you to switch on your cameras as well.
I'm sorry, I don't have my webcam.
Okay, maybe somebody. Marius, as usual, yes. So, Marius, the floor is yours, and whom do you have beside you?
Okay, I can present my slides and then Sylvia will do her. So the answers of one of the great students from Vytautas Magnus University. He finished bachelor and master degrees. So he used open educational resources for learning. And what does it take you that you feel ownership for something? Materials which is created by myself, for example, presentations, articles, are some kind of the final product which I create. Of course, I use some other materials from the internet or somewhere else. Who would you share your ideas with? With colleagues of the same teaching or research area, or in seminars to gain more knowledge and more experience, and how to best express new ideas and innovations. So the answer is in collaboration and discussion with other colleagues by discussing idea in the meetings or seminars or somewhere else. Where would you share it? So it's similar like the other people said in discussion forums, in face-to-face meetings, in chat, and public forums, closed forums, and so on. Which tools would you use? So it depends on the idea, but usually it would be free tools such as Google Drive, Google Docs, mind maps, discussions forums, and etc. Yeah, it's very short. Now it's Sylvia. John.
Thank you, Marius. I can't move the slide, so please, thank you. These are the answer from the University of Pavia, so Paolo Nembri, but he doesn't have microphone and webcam, so I can only read the answer. He asked 2 professors and a student and an expert of the technical staff from University of Pavia to answer this question. The 8 question that the project gives us, and tells these people to answer the question which prefer. So these are the answers from the student and the technical expert of the staff of University of Pavia. At the question how to create user engagement to increase reuse and development of OER in collaborative settings, the students answered that the university should let students know more about these tools and give the possibility to use them during courses, while the technical expert says the development and reuse of OER must necessarily pass by the joint commitment of governments of nations. In order to found organization and certificated consortia to produce international standards that can bring OER to be truly reusable. Why do you think people hesitate to create and share OER? The students tell the people fear of sharing wrong things, and they for search for a financial reward in their works. While the technical experts says that small individual interest and the lack of culture in the new media and the new digital world, especially in Italy. Italian teachers are for the most part very uncooperative, jealous of their work, studies and research, so they prefer not to create and share OER. Which tools do not allow to reuse and modify OER? The students use wikis for research and studies, but all sites that allow, but also all sites that allow download of material. The technical expert, says that if we refer to intellectual tools, then he can tell laziness. If we talk about technical tools, he is sure that EX Learning has developed the ability to make the OER reusable. Please, Marius.
Sorry, I think you are now presenter
yes,
also.
yes,
You
I have.
should, but
I have.
yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Have you used OER for learning or teaching? The students have used the OER for study, for learning, so to integrate traditional learning material. The technical expert has used the OER in the development of a computer course held at the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Pavia. Who would you share your ideas with? The students usually share ideas and materials with friends. I participate in blogs and web discussion on social media. The technical expert says that the ideas should be free, should always be shared, and the share of ideas disregards from the personal, cultural and religious or sexual condition, tagging everyone, but starts from much further categories from that Platone would call objective form. How to best express new idea and innovation. The students that in places on the web accessible to all. In that way, in order to give the opportunity to share the material and gain advantages in a reciprocal manner. The technical expert says that the cultural context that surrounds us is crucial. The support from those who think like us then is crucial, and for this reason, in an inhomogeneous context, but open to dialogue and discussion, ideas can certainly have a greater trust. But obviously, there is a need of the will of the government that can economically sorry. That can economically stimulate cultural tissues to be more competitive. These are the answer. These are the interviews from the University of Florence. I and Laura Menichetti collaborate to interview a full professor, a technical expert of the technical staff, and a student and librarian from the University of Florence. We gave the more sophisticated question to them, and these are their answers. When we ask how to create user engagement to increase reuse and development of OER in collaborative settings, the professor tells us that it is possible to create user engagement in each department. So where people share goals in terms of knowledge and in terms of time, because at the institutional engagement, such as the University of Florence, will be very complicated. Imagine that it could be possible to create small modules reusable in different contexts. That could be very useful for professors and teachers, not wasting their time. The technical expert and the librarian and student tells that to create user engagement is possible only if the institution wants it. And they noticed a lack of information about OER and about OER. The librarian also both of them think that it will be very useful to organize and propose training courses. Why do you think people hesitate to create and share OER? For the professor thinks that Italians hesitate to create, use, and share OER because of their language. So it is a problem of language. For the technical staff, it is a problem of information, of culture, because she says that there is no information about OER and there is no collaborative culture. The librarian also thinks that people hesitate to create and share OER because of many reasons. For example, evaluation don't like reuse of resources, people fear of exposing their work to others and of being copied. They don't know very well copyright and copyleft, and there is no time and no support from institution to create OER because institutions don't recognize the value of the initiative. So they don't waste in that direction. Which tools allow, do not allow to reuse and modify OER? The professor thinks that the technical tools are not very important because we already know what they are and how we can use them. He thinks that are more important the competencies in modifying and assembling OER. Because he thinks that at the moment is more flexible copyright than copyleft, because we know the limitation of we know very well the limitation of copyrights, and we don't know very well limitation of copyleft because there are ambiguous consequences. The technical expert says the open sources tools allow to reuse and modify OER, such as e-learning platform and CMS. There are also other collaborative tools, such as Wiki and other software open source. The library also is aware of the opportunities that open sources software are offered by the web. What context would help users to start collaborating on idea development already? One person doesn't answer to this question. The technical expert says that the ideal context that would help user to start collaborating on idea development could be the one where the OER concept is well known. The library thinks that all wikis and social network could be useful in that direction. How would you explain the emotional relationship between the creator of OER and the artifacts that they create? One person tells us that the artifacts are dynamic, so the creator constantly should modify them. And this is not a problem of emotional relationship, but an epistemological problem. The technical staff thinks that it is quite natural and normal to feel this kind of emotional relationship between the creator and the artifacts that they create. But this is not due only for the satisfaction of having created something, but especially for sharing the artifacts with others and for being responsible versus the world who's going to use our OER, the OER. For the librarian is doing something for the benefit of our community. When Professor Pawlowski argues that collaborative OER development can be fostered by creating emotional ownership, we ask these people when do they think intentional and conscious feeling can be better created. One person don't answer, and the technical staff thinks that collaboration is fundamental to create the feeling of ownership, of emotional ownership. The ideal context within this feeling could be created is the one where the owner is well motivated to cooperate and collaborate. And finally, the librarian and student of the University of Florence thinks that the intentionality is really necessary because it can further energy and serendipity in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, I see a big job done, and I'm very, in fact, impressed about the level, how questions are perceived in universities in Italy. I think our teachers and even staff members would not have answered such, I would say, considered answers already. So I see that you cannot hear. Lydia can hear again, and I hope, Ramon, you can also hear now. If somebody has problems, you should write in the chat. So thank you very much. It was impressive indeed. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Sylvia, for presentation, and Marius as well, and I see that Paolo was beside you. So thank you. Let's move on. We are already a little bit short of time, but let's catch it up. And we have group number 1 who preferred to present the last ones. So I hope now that is solved all technical problems, and maybe group number 1 can get on with your cameras, microphones, and do presentation. We're waiting for you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you, so you're fine. The floor is yours. I see Livia is joining. Anna, Egidius, Livia, Samuel. I don't see if all of you are here, but at least we see Livia is trying to switch on the webcam. We don't see you still, Livia?
Yes, I have problem with my cam, but I can speak.
Okay, good, perfect. So the others?
The others, I don't know.
Okay, Anna is hiding somewhere. Egidius as well. Let's see. Okay, so the floor is yours, girls. So you go ahead.
First of everything, I want to apologize because I having some troubles with the computer and I'm losing the connection sometimes. So finger crossed to not interrupt the presentation. Well, in our presentation, we decided to interview one professor and one student from our universities. From Lithuania, Anna interviewed one of her professors there in Lithuania because she's there in an Erasmus program. This professor is female and she's from the educational department. And the student, I think, is also a female, but is from his home university in Spain, but is also studying education. From Italy, Livia interviewed one of her professors in Italy who is specialized in media education, and the student is from communication. In Spain, I interviewed one of my professors from my degree, which is English Studies, but she was specialized in teaching languages such as English, but to teach languages as a second language for students. And my student was a male, and he just finished a master degree in which he specialized in open educational resources, particularly of MOOCs. Our answers are all together because we discovered that even if they were from different countries, the answers were pretty similar between them. So yes, now. The first question when we asked, have you used open educational resources for learning or teaching? Basically, it was the same answer for everybody. Yes, for learning, researching, and professors for teaching. And the main OER, the main open educational resources were wikis, virtual courses, models from the universities, and social networks. In the next one, in the next one, what does it take you feel ownership for something? Basically, we put the different answers, but mainly they say that they feel ownership when you can share it and manage the information, and you can improve that information when you put something in that information from you. You feel that ownership.
And the next one, when they say, who you share your ideas with? Basically, they say with everybody who is interested in those ideas. One of the students said that if they are more technical ideas, for example, an special an special field, for example, I don't know, IT that not everybody understands. You can share it only with the people who is interested in IT and specialized in IT. But mainly with anybody willing to make good use of it or which are interested in those ideas. Yeah, the other students said the same that the professor. In the question, how to best express new ideas and innovations? We got different answers, but the main idea that they share is through conventions with expert people in the field to improve and to innovate and create new ways to express those ideas. And where will you share? We were not pretty sure if this question was about a specific social networks or open educational resources in general, but we took it like a very open question, so we let the people we interviewed to answer how whatever they wanted. So, for example, one of the professors, I think it was the one from Lithuania, say that she will share it in the faculty and especially in the Department of Education. She's studying, she's teaching there. But the other teacher, which is from Spain, said that it depends on the content because every content required a different way to share it. Students, well, some of them say that through convention or a specific exposition. Other ones talking if we were referring to online or websites, or they said that through forums or university platforms available on the internet. Again, with the question, which tools do you use? We leave our interviewers to interpret the question whatever they wanted. Some of them gave us specific answers, like, for example, short videos on Tumblr or videos and spots on YouTube, but most of them answered openly, like they said on the internet very generally, or others say in specific forums, university platforms, conventions, computer programs. And with the more difficult questions, like how to create user engagement, to create reuse and development of open educational resources in collaborative settings, open licenses, uh, I think was the idea shared between professors and students. Also, organizing courses to explain to the rest of the community what are those opening educational resources and how to use it for teaching or for learning or for researching. Mm. And when we ask them, why do you think people hesitate to create and share? Some of the teachers, some of the professors said that because of cultural limitations, but I think we think the main idea was that fear of losing control, that when you share an idea, you don't have any power on that idea anymore. Anybody can copy and share that idea and modify that idea. Also, you have a responsibility. People can criticize your idea or can use it in a wrong way. And also the another main problem is copyright, which is related with all the which tools not allow to reuse and modify open educational resources? Well, mainly again, copyright. Copyright was the main answer to this question. The limitation of what you can do or you cannot do to share information or to modify. Also, this is a new open educational resources are really new nowadays, so many people doesn't have enough information about how to use them. So that's what it means, absence of standards. In the next question, what context will help users start collaborating on idea development already in an early stage of open educational development? Well, basically all the professors said that formation and organization of the team are the main sorry, are the main key stage to develop an open educational resource. Students said that, well, that a young and innovative environment with students, because students want to be part of those stages, to know better those opening educational resources, and they think that university is really important to develop open educational resources, but always taking into account students, not just professors or PhD. And we asked about the emotional relationships between the creator of open educational resources and his or her collaborators. Well, some professors just answered vaguely, saying that it depends very much on the situation of the board, but others were more precise and answered that there is a risk that there is a lack of gratitude in so the creators or the collaborators can feel useless. The students, well, we have two different opinions. The first one that the emotional relationship should be overcome, so it doesn't become an obstacle. And the other one was the parental relation, that which means that that idea that you have shared is like a son. You have to raise him, like, to develop and improve that idea, to share it with the community. So in the end, people can be sorry can use that idea to improve society. So it's like a human being, you are in society to help and to improve society. So it's the same with those ideas. I think this is the last. No. What is the question? When do you think intentional and conscious feeling of emotional ownership can be better created? All the students said that working on together as a team, there was no different opinion. Professors said that awareness, team, honesty, and making known the contribution of others, and also engagement, and providing that it is something appealing to the creator in the first place. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, because I I couldn't hear anything, so I thought I was losing the connection again. Sorry.
It's okay, it's okay.
We have some problem with this question because people have to read the article from. No, it was this or this one. Yeah, sorry, this one. People have to read the article from Wolf, and some of them didn't do it, so we only got a couple of answers. But well, that's all with the question. And the conclusion we arrived is like open educational resources are starting to be used in European universities, and the departments are normally those dedicated to education. But open educational resources are not as important as traditional methods for teaching, because even though many professors know about them, they don't use them. They don't use it to his whole potential. When I say open educational resources, I mean other platforms different from the model used by each university or faculty or department. Because here in Spain, for example, I think everybody uses SWAT, which is a model to upload documents, but beyond that, there is some professors that anything. Also, that students are not aware of how open educational resources can improve their learning experience, but they want to get involved because they think they are interesting and they can improve their learning experience, and also they can help with research. I think that, oh, thank you for your attention, everyone.
Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you very much, the whole group. I am not sure, maybe somebody from group, either Livia, who is online with a microphone, could add something or comment on how you did with this collaboration. Maybe you can add something to this.
Yes, I would like to say that the most difficult things was understand what OER are, because some people tell me OER are what people can modify knowing the code and the source code, and for somebody else OER was all internet, such as YouTube, Facebook, SlideShare. So it was difficult to find interpretation for this. And then I was surprised because I discovered that there are many jealous for what we create, and I thought that it was an Italian approach, but I today discovered that it is like this all over the world or Europe. So that it was.
Yes, I think Livia, you are right. It is not an Italian problem. Otherwise, it would have been spread all over Europe except Italy. But no, we all have similar problems, and that is why we are discussing how to promote OER, what is the benefit, and how to use and reuse OER. So you're right. Thank you very much. And maybe now let's move further on to another two more agenda items for today. One.